Tonight, News 13 investigative reporter Larry Barker embarks on a treasure hunt of sorts. He's looking for millions of dollars buried somewhere in state government. So what did he dig up? Here's Larry's investigation.
To have this kind of money just sitting there is something that we got to figure out how to fix it or take it away from them.
When you first found out how much money the Department of Cultural Affairs was sitting on, what was your reaction?
I was shocked.
If your statutory responsibility is to get the money into the community rather than sitting on millions of dollars, that's a problem from your perspective, yes?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a $6 million treasure trove, unspent and stashed away for years in an obscure government program. Senator Stuart Ingle is the Senate Minority Leader.
You know, when we think about having $6 or $7 million laying somewhere that hasn't been touched in years, we need to take a harder look at things.
Tucked away inside this Santa Fe office building is a nondescript workroom home to the Art in Public Places office. This program is responsible for showcasing New Mexico's artistic diversity through public art. Since inception, the program has acquired a vast collection of paintings, photographs, and sculptures. New Mexico Public Art is funded through a statute that requires a portion of every state construction appropriation be set aside for public art. So when lawmakers approve, say, $200,000 to build a new senior center, well, 1% of that, or $2,000, goes into a public art fund. That money is then used to acquire artwork for the new building. That's the law. Since it began 30 years ago, the program has funded more than 2,500 artistic compositions worth an estimated $14 million. Examples of 1% artwork include this abstract landscape mural at the new state laboratory and this metal sculpture gracing the lobby of the new Court of Appeals building. These are the success stories. However, behind the scenes, New Mexico's public art program is troubled. For example, take a look at the $2.6 million BMX park in Albuquerque. Even though this state-funded project was completed 9 years ago, the $26,000 designated for artwork here has yet to be spent. The Las Cruces Aquatic Center was built a decade ago, but the $91,000 earmarked for artwork here is still sitting in Santa Fe. 10 years ago, the state renovated this historic schoolhouse in Tularosa. However, the $3,000 designated for public art here is nowhere to be seen. And the Albuquerque Zoo's veterinary clinic has been waiting for 8 years to see the $5,400 that was supposed to be spent on artwork. Our 4-month investigation finds the Department of Cultural Affairs has failed to fund hundreds upon hundreds of art projects tied to new construction, like this vet clinic. And it's not because the agency didn't have the money. In fact, we found Cultural Affairs sitting on more than $6 million. Instead of spending the money, the department stockpiled it. Millions of dollars have been parked for almost a decade, and some goes all the way back to 1998.
I was shocked. $6 million has been sitting there 10 years stale. That's a large sum of money that could really go to some important projects.
That get your attention?
It got my attention.
We're in a tough world on money, and money like that's sitting there needs to be put into some good use, because it was a part of an appropriation. If it hasn't been used in these years, it needs to be taken away, and the state of New Mexico has better use for it than sitting somewhere.
We found missing public art in practically every community in New Mexico, from Mora to Roswell, Taos to Tomé. Senator Peter Worth represents Santa Fe.
Can New Mexico afford to have $6 million just sitting in the bank unexpended today?
I don't think so. I think we need to get these dollars out. We need to put the money to work, and we need to showcase the extraordinary art that's created in this state.
Some of these projects go back 12, 13, 14, 15 years in which your department hasn't even begun the process. How did that happen?
Well, you know, it's obviously something we're very, very concerned about. There were a lot of mitigating circumstances.
Veronica Gonzalez is the Department of Cultural Affairs Cabinet Secretary.
The Art in Public Places program is one program that really suffered in terms of staff capacity. It really did not have the capacity to really work on projects, and at the same time it had a huge number of projects that they were trying to address. So they got behind.
In fact, the bottleneck goes back 10 years. That was when New Mexico was rolling in dough. Lawmakers spent billions of dollars on construction projects, and that translated into millions for public art.
The process for selecting each piece of art is time-consuming. Cultural Affairs was faced with a nearly impossible task. It was required to dole out millions of dollars for hundreds of projects across the state without enough staff to do the job. Instead of increasing Cultural Affairs' budget, lawmakers slashed it.
As a result, between 2004 and 2008, the department was unable to process more than $3.5 million intended for some 600 public art projects. Today, that backlog is $6.2 million.
We appropriated this money in those years, and by the time the dollars got into the system, we had taken away the employees that the agency needed to implement the program.
This has been one of my top priorities. We do take it very seriously. We're trying to get these balances spent down. We're trying to address the projects that are still waiting to be initiated.
There are laws on the books, and certainly the agencies need to implement those laws. Yet, if we don't give them the tools to do it, it makes it darn tough.
Nobody knows just when or even if Cultural Affairs will ever be able to spend all that money. Some lawmakers, however, are losing patience.
Senator, you got a message for the Department of Cultural Affairs as it relates to the $6 million that they're sitting on?
Well, I can tell them one thing: they better get a better plan about how to use this 1% of the arts, or before the paint dries, we're going to have it.
Larry Barker, KRQE News 13.
Now, we have much more on this story, including a database of all the art in public places where funds were allocated but are not being used, as well as a photo gallery. It's posted for you on our KRQE app.